yeah, video is becoming very important. We also use a video platform at Grand Living, where people use it for pre-tour introductions, pre-tour plan videos about telling people what they're going to see when they come and visit, pre-tour, post-tour follow-up, even using residents and people that are associates that they have met, a prospect has met on a tour, will use them for video as well. So, but we like to use video. I think it's a great way of telling a story. And I think people just have to be less afraid of video. I think everyone thinks that video has to be perfect, but going back to your point of people want to see authenticity. And if you're too scripted, you don't seem authentic and you don't seem vulnerable. It's okay to be vulnerable to your prospects. I mean, we expect them to be vulnerable with us in their journey. So why aren't we vulnerable back to them in their journey and really let them see how, be vulnerable so you can build trust.
Welcome to The Move-In, a senior living marketing podcast from Unlock Health, a full-service marketing partner for the aging services industry. Join us for candid conversations exploring the latest marketing strategies with the senior living community leaders and innovative solution partners who are moving our industry forward. Together, we'll build a community to build better communities. If 2025 taught us anything, it's that the playbook has changed. And the real question is, what does winning look like in 2026? Hello, I'm Larry Williams, and welcome to the Move-In Senior Living Marketing, powered by Unlock Health. Because winning isn't just about more leads or bigger budgets anymore, it's about how families are finding you through conversational search and AI, and it's about how transparent and human your experience feels from the very first click, and whether your marketing is truly setting your sales teams up to connect, not just convert. And that's why I'm excited about today's conversation. Joining me is my friend Eric Varin, the Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Grand Living, a luxury senior living operator with communities across Florida, Texas, and Iowa. Eric has seen this industry from every angle, the operator, vendor, and now back in the operator seat, and he brings a refreshingly honest perspective on what actually worked in 2025 and what needs to change as we head into 2026. We discuss how AI and conversational search are reshaping discovery, why transparency and differentiation are more critical than ever, and how aligning marketing and sales teams around the human journey is becoming the true competitive advantage. So if you're planning for 2026 and wondering what success really looks like in this next chapter of senior living marketing, this is the conversation for you. We're on the Move-In Senior Living Marketing. Got another friend with me, Eric Varin with Grand Living. Eric is the Vice President of Sales and Marketing. And thank you for being a part of this conversation today, Eric.
Thanks for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. So Eric and I met, it was Smash last year, I believe, Smash 2024. And so I've been fortunate to work for Unlock Health, and every year we host a lunch where we get everybody together. And it's just really a session, really a lunch, and what I call an unconference moment, where everybody gets to really talk about some of their biggest challenges and how they're approaching those challenges. Eric had so much insight that I felt like I should have just been sitting in the corner taking notes while you were discussing all of this. So because of that, and getting to know you throughout the year, I was like, Eric, please join me on the podcast. We've talked about other times we're going to get you on. Timing didn't work out, and I'm so happy you're here now.
Thanks. It's an honor to be here. Really, you're doing a great work, and you're spreading the word on how we can be better helping seniors, which is so important. So thank you for your efforts and all you're doing too.
Oh, that's really nice. I appreciate that. It's fun to be part of this community. It's you hear about iron sharpens iron, and I've just never seen a group of people who lean into supporting one another like this group does. And so I'm just feel, again, very fortunate to be part of this conversation as a whole. So before we jump into what we're going to speak about today, which I'm really excited about, tell everyone about your past, if you don't mind, because I think it's really interesting to have you've seen so many views of senior living.
Sure. So I started in 2010 in New York City on the Upper West Side of Manhattan at Atria, West 86th Street. And I was a community relations director and was responsible for doing outreach. So I was 4 days a week on the road in Manhattan, pounding the pavement, taking buses to appointments in the subway, and really just promoting our community. And it was a great experience. I also, though, was also able to work with families 1 day a week, which I really loved. I think it's so rewarding to be able to partner with a family and help them make a decision that's best for them, regardless if they choose your community or not, but really what's best for them. So I started there and kind of grew up in the industry. And then at COVID took kind of a crazy turn. I went over to the vendor side of senior living. I worked for a video platform and then for a CRM and sales methodology that I really believe in. And for me, I think what I learned on the vendor side was how many good people there are in this industry. I think sometimes you can be siloed in your operator and you're kind of just focusing on your company, but there are so many resources available to you and so many friends that all want to help you be successful. So I really was able to expand my network working on the vendor side. And I'm so thankful for that, because there will be times when I'll be struggling with something and I'll just reach out to a vendor partner and say, hey, don't steal any secrets, but tell me, what do you know, or what are you hearing out there that's happening? Because you all have your hands in so many companies with supporting so many different operators, and you get to really learn about some of the great things that are happening in the industry, and you're able to share them with your friends in the industry. And I really appreciate that. So, but it was hard. I decided that I really miss being on the operator side, working with families, and so I decided to make the switch back, and have loved it. I mean, there's nothing better than one of our team members helping a family, and you get that feedback that the family says, "I wish I had done this sooner." Right? So
Yeah,
often it's the struggling of waiting, but having people say, "I wish I had done it sooner," just kind of gives me that power and that jazz that I need to keep going even on the tough days. So
for
it's been
sure.
great. Mhm.
And when you're making a deeper level impact, and I always say, like, I could not represent a company where we're just selling widgets or just really going through the motions just to sell a product, just to sell a product. It's nice to know that what we're doing has impact. And on top of that, I think about going to, I think it was a senior living executive conference, and I went out to dinner with the Christian care team, right? And so we're at this restaurant. Well, they saw one of their residents, their family was taking one of the residents out for dinner. They were so appreciative of the care that, the family was so appreciative of the care that their Christian care team have provided their loved one, that they tried to buy our meal. And so, like, that just shows, like,
It's
again, a
amazing.
deeper, it's amazing. And so going a little further than what you said about on that vendor side, yes, like, everybody's so supportive. And I'll be the first one to say it, like, that I've reached out to some of our competitors in the agency side just to get some feedback. And
Yeah.
it's a good space where everybody leans in for the greater good. And I've never seen anything else like that. And so I really appreciate, again, I think it's that culture that I'm not sure when it started, but it's like this thing of, we want to make sure we're continue to encourage others and bring others in, and continue to, yeah, really provide that voice of support as we continue to get more comfortable.
Yeah, and I think it was one of the benefits of COVID. Really, in COVID, we all did not know what we were doing. I mean, we all do great care, but being in
Sure.
this new reality of a pandemic and a nationwide, a worldwide shutdown, we really leaned on each other. And there were many times where there would be groups of companies just getting together and saying, "Here's what we're doing. Here's what's working well. Here's what's not working well." And I think that took away some of the fear of being collaborative. I think a
Sure.
lot of times people are afraid to share their secret sauce, but you can share information and best practices without giving it all away. And so I think COVID did help our industry overall kind of evolve into a more collaborative space.
Yeah, and I agree with you. One thing that stands out to me is that theory of abundance. We
Yeah.
know there are so many people who need this service, and that it's not like we're fighting over a select few, but we want to continue to connect with others, especially as with baby boomers and that silver tsunami. We know we need to make sure we're getting this message out. We don't need to fight over this, but really say, like, how do we improve? Really, how do we improve as a whole, but continue to evolve that narrative? I think that's really important for all of us to continue these conversations.
Absolutely.
So tell me real quick again before we jump into the meat of this conversation. Tell us a little bit more about Grand Living and where you're located. How many communities do you have? What
Sure.
what services do you provide?
Sure. So we're an owner, operator, developer of luxury senior housing communities. We offer independent living, assisted living, and memory care in all of our communities. We're really known to be the true luxury leader in the markets we operate in. We are the unapologetically the price leader in the markets we operate in, and the quality leader in the communities in the markets that we operate in. We have 13 communities right now, but they're large. We're about 2,500 units, so a good size, decent operator. We have properties in Iowa and in Florida and in Texas. The majority of our communities are in Florida, with the next majority in Texas, and then we have a couple in Iowa.
Man, you geographically a little spread out then.
It
You
is.
got from the East, Midwest and in Texas. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
So going into the conversation that we're going to have today. So you and I spoke at length at Smash, and I reached out to you a few days after Smash. I'm like, let's get you on the podcast. And I asked you if you'd be willing to talk about, really a recap of 2025, as well as speak about what to expect in 2026. So right now, you and I are having this conversation at the beginning of November, but according to my schedule, this podcast won't be released till early January. So I think this is a good time to actually, reflect like everybody does at the end of the year, at the beginning of the new year, but also really talk about what do we expect next year? What's changing? What's the momentum? Because I feel like it's things are evolving so quickly. That was really a conversation. Smash is just really, we got up to speed. Now it's evolving and keeping up with this changing environment. And I thought it'd be a fun place to start was really for me reflecting on the 2025 Senior Living Marketing Survey report that Unlock Health partners with Senior Housing News Zone, and really looking back at the beginning of the year of like, okay, what did we see, changing? What were our expectations, and really how did that play out? So if that's a good place to start with you, we'll jump right into it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So looking back at that report, I would say I made notes of the big changes because what we do is we mark these every year. And when I compare 2024 to 2025, the big movers, what people were expecting was that there's going to be an increase in chat bots, AI, competition and spend, social media, and more conversations about staffing in terms of marketing teams really leveraging their resources to help with talent acquisition. Did you like going into the year? Were those the same things on your mind, or how was your preparation different from what I just said?
I don't think it was really different. I think it was well aligned with what you were saying. I think we would expect to see a continued influx in reliability on digital, but also transparency in the way you advertise. So I think that's why the chatbots were so powerful, and being fully transparent on, for us, we have chatbots that tell our pricing. We have on our websites, we have our occupancy fully open so that people can see where we are, what our occupancy is at our communities, and what apartments are available at that time. We definitely saw our cost per lead go up this year. And I think one thing that happened that I don't know, it really threw us for a loop in a way, was the Google algorithm change that happened in March and in
Yeah.
April. I think that completely changed the way a lot of companies did search, and had their SEO looked at. So for us, I mean, we're still digging out of that. That was definitely a challenge for us. We saw a significant decline for the first few months after that. We finally have had a net positive lead month this month, so I'm very proud of our marketing team to get us there. But I think that threw us for a loop as well that we weren't expecting. And then AI, I mean, it's so interesting now when you get inquiries and someone says, oh, on ChatGPT, they said your community was the best community in the market. And the first time I heard that, I was like, really? How does that even work? So we're seeing a lot of people do that conversational search, which is very different than I think the use of keywords that we saw. So, changing our SEO, changing our content on our websites, really making sure you have strong FAQ pages. You make sure that you've got really good content and new content and expert content, has really kind of become a priority for us in the face of AI.
Yeah, the content side has changed drastically, and like you
Mhm.
said, everyone went through that Google algorithm change, that little shock, and we got through that, and it is interesting how we are searching different, and I'm trying to figure out like how much are we overreacting to that, that AI overview, or are we really going a little deeper into some of these conversations of trying to get deeper into really those high intent searches and
Yeah.
getting more information. So I'm still trying to figure that out. I do think we're going to continue to be a lot more comfortable searching the way AI drives us to search.
Mhm.
But I'd say going back to how you started this was the chat is thinking
Mhm.
about the overall journey and connecting with people, loved ones, potential residents where they are in this journey. And I agree, the chat bots have made a difference because people are searching at all times of the day. If they can get answers, that's a huge win. If we can continue to help them qualify, that's going to help that high intent search. That's going to help with that higher quality search. So I'm glad that to see that you're leaning more into that. Um, have you leaned more into social media, if you don't mind me asking?
So that is something that we're dipping our toes into right now. We have always done social media, but we really weren't doing a lot of social media advertising. What we struggled with when we tried it was a lot of junk leads that came in. So we had,
Yeah,
you have it's difficult to segment on social media advertising, based on age and income qualification. So there's, personas that or mirror audiences you can create to be able to work through that. But we are working hard on our social media presence of our communities and really telling our communities stories, and really making sure that our teams understand the power of their stories on our social media. I think a lot of times for in community teams, posting to socials is an afterthought for most communities. So we're really trying to put it on the forefront of tell your story every single day. One of the messages that my team hears a lot is about our buyer's journey is how are we different? How do we differentiate ourselves from our competition? Because everybody says they've got beautiful communities and great care and the best chefs and they've got a bus and all of that wonderful stuff. But how are we differentiating through our experience from the first touch on? How are we talking to the customer in our chat bot? How are we talking to our customer in our advertising? How are we demonstrating how we're different on our tours and through our follow-up? So I think that it's important. Social media is an important component of that, to be able to give that customer a bird's eye view of what life is truly like in your community. And it's underutilized, I think, by a lot of organizations. I know a lot of companies or some organizations that I've worked for in the past were afraid to have communities directly post on social media because they're afraid of the walkers and the wheelchairs, or maybe not the best photo. And I completely understand that. But what we've done is we've actually given the teams permission to post directly on their socials, which can be a little bit nerve wracking at times. And there have been
sure.
some quick emails that have gone out to say, pull that post down. But
Yeah.
I think it lets our teams know that we believe in them and we believe
Hmm.
in the good quality work that they do, and we should be celebrating that every day.
Yeah, it's in I think just being real and
Mhm.
we're seeing more user generated content. So it doesn't have to be so polished. People like to see authenticity
Mhm.
in social media. And something else, as we think about the future is I think we look at social media as like, okay, how many leads are we getting from this? But to me, it reminds me of more of like a programmatic play, almost like that passive audience, but you get to tell a story and you get to stay in touch with that story and you get to connect it with them on a different level that you really can't do with websites or other paid media. And I think about it almost like a direct mail with a lot more calculated and a lot more intention. And so that's just how I see social media. And question for you: are you leveraging more video in your social media presence, or really video as a whole?
That's been an initiative for us the last few months, is really focusing on video and
Yeah.
getting better quality video assets available to our communities. Going and doing community-wide videos with interviews and testimonials, and then cutting that up as we need to based
Mhm.
on how we want to use it on a social post or on the website or what have you. So yeah, video is becoming very important. We also use a video platform at Grand Living, where people use it for pre-tour introductions, pre-tour plan videos about telling people what they're going to see when they come and visit, pre-tour, post-tour follow-up, even using residents and people that are associates that they have met, a prospect has met on a tour, will use them for video as well. So, but we like to use video. I think it's a great way of telling a story. And I think people just have to be less afraid of video. I think
Yeah.
everyone thinks that video has to be perfect, but going back to your point of, people want to see authenticity. And if you're too scripted, you don't seem authentic and you don't seem vulnerable. It's okay to be vulnerable to your prospects. I mean, we expect them to be vulnerable with us in their journey. So why
Yeah.
aren't we vulnerable back to them in their journey and really let them see how, be vulnerable so you can build trust?
Yeah, for sure. And I think about like how we want to connect with people. There's so much data. There's AI. We're looking at screens all the time. When it's all said and done, people want a human connection. So
Correct.
how do we connect as humans? I love leveraging video, not just in the marketing side, but really to as that pre-tour connection and to really build upon that. And when you're mentioning like you don't need everything to be so polished, because then it seems staged, and that is not authentic. Think about what Alex Bennett told me with Opinion. He was mentioning that if a place has nothing but 5 stars across the board, okay, something seems a little fishy, right? You
Right.
need to really show on the inside and really again connect, with more of a real approach. And I think that's we can cut through some of the clutter and leverage like with phones now, like it's crazy the video quality that we can capture. It's you don't have to always have a professional videographer to be there, but it helps. But sometimes just those quick videos, man, it's amazing like what you can do with that. And having some tools like I think you and I spoke about it, which is, like for me, getting my 12-year-old daughter to help me with CapCut. I mean, it's crazy what all we can do now on phones.
Yeah, I agree with you. They make technology a lot easier and more accessible, I think, for people, and especially in an industry where I feel like we have a lot of technologically resistant people that are in our communities.
Yeah.
Being able for them to have tools that are easily able to give them really good quality content is a wonderful advancement in technology.
Yeah. So I'm gonna kind of build a bridge going into 2026,
Sure.
if you don't mind. So where you started were there any big surprises as you wrapped up the year of like what worked, what didn't work, and where you're shifting gears?
That darn Google algorithm change, man.
Going
That was
back to that, right?
I get back to
I
that.
get
That
it.
was a big pain point for
Yeah,
us.
yeah, for
So,
sure.
yeah, so I think really having to be able to pivot quickly and to make changes quickly to be able to address the issues that we faced because of that was really important to us, because we had probably taken our foot off the gas in certain areas that we needed to really keep our foot on. So I know for us, like SEO was something that we really kind of honed back in on to make sure that our SEO was very, very strong. And the importance of content was also something that became very apparent and important to us. I think it's even more important now because of the conversational search and what they look
Mhm.
for, those chatbots, what they crawl,
Yeah,
not the chatbots, the AI crawls.
sure. Yeah,
Making sure that it's expert content and that you are that true expert in the market you operate in. So that one was hard for us. I think that was a surprise. Um, and I think for us, we are a organization that does the majority of our inventory is independent living, and
mhm,
because we are a price leader in the markets we operate in, we have quick move-ins and we'll take them, but the majority of our prospects tour and retour and retour and retour. And so for me, it's a challenge of how do we balance the need for someone to have um, the permission to take as long as they need to make the change, but also trying to incorporate urgency in the process in a way that is not, isn't seen as being pushy or
Sure.
being breaking of the relationship with the prospect. I think for us,
Mhm.
that has also been that's been interesting for me at Grand Living. I've only been here for 7 months, so I'm still learning and kind of analyzing things. But that was also interesting to me. There's our length of stay. Now, I know that there was one of the CRM companies released some data that said that the longer the journey of the sales process, the longer the length of stay will be in your community, which makes a lot of sense because you're really dealing with people that are not necessarily in immediate need of your services. But I think for me, that was something that was a surprise, as well as just how do you balance that? Because it is an art form to balance
Mhm.
urgency with giving someone permission to kind of go on this journey at their own pace.
For sure. And I think going through that, it helps them, really qualify it and
Mhm.
understand if they're the right fit, because ultimately you're looking for the right fit long term. And if you try to rush that and get a faster sell, it might not be the right fit. So it's really important to take those steps and connect and make sure it's a long term fit where they will be happy. Because going back to the reviews I mentioned earlier, you want to make sure people are happy, because if not, you're going to, like, everybody's going to hear about it.
Yeah.
So wrapping up the year, and thinking about next year, are there going to be other areas? I don't want you to get into the secret sauce. I'm not asking for that, but do you see areas where you're going to invest more in, regardless if that's time or money?
Yeah. So a couple of things we're doing is because of the importance of SEO and content, we're redoing our websites. So
Okay.
that is a major initiative that we will be doing at Grand Living, and hopefully by June of next year, because it is a process, we'll have some new websites up for our customers to really help with our SEO and our SEM, and also for the AI component of search. So
Sure.
that's something that we're going to be focusing on. I think our digital presence is also a very important, really tweaking it, spending a lot of time understanding where our customers are and how to meet them on their journey where they need to be met. So looking at, the income, the age, but also the location, geofencing, geo-targeting, those types of things, what works better, what doesn't. So I think we're going to spend more time on those items as well. And then I think brand awareness. I think Grand Living has an incredible story to tell, and there's a lot of kind of earned media that we could gain that we are not doing a great job at right now. So really, one of my initiatives to our director of marketing is we need an earned media strategy for 2026. How are we
Sure.
going to tell our story better to be able to get that kind of free advertising? But it's really telling the great stories of the things that are happening in our communities. So
Hmm.
it should be something that we really are it should be a focus point for us. And I think that it just sometimes that gets passed over with all of the different competing priorities that are being faced. So for us, earned media and kind of brand awareness is also something. And then lastly, for me, it's team development. Yes, marketing is wonderful and sexy, and you can spend a lot of time on it, but your sales fundamentals have to be in place. Your
For sure.
salespeople have to know how to sell. They have to know how to meet with prospects properly. They need to know how to do really, really, really good discovery that's deep and it's rich and it's about the prospect, not about your building. It's about really understanding where they are in their process, helping them figure out a path forward. It's about strong tours. So we do a pre-tour plan that we create for all of our tours. And one of the components that I would like our teams to use is to use video to explain that pre-tour plan to a prospect before they come in, because no other competitors are doing that. It's a great way to set yourself up and be different. Again, that's my
Mhm.
message to my team. What is the differentiation of our experience going to be like? From first touch to first tour to second tour to closing to moving in into life in the community, we have to set ourselves up to be different, and that's what our goal is.
No, that's all really good stuff. I've been taking notes the whole time, so a lot to unpack there. The last note I took was peace of mind.
Mhm.
I think it's if we can provide more of that peace of mind at the beginning of that process, it's so impactful.
But
Uh,
I'm going to challenge you on that. Peace of
Please.
mind, because peace of mind means something different to every single person. So
Yes.
we can't just say we want to provide peace of mind. It has to be peace of mind for that person. And the way you
Yeah.
do that is through discovery. What does
Yep.
peace of mind look like for you? Because for you, it might be the care ratios that are in a community, where for me, it might be that my mom will never have a strawberry because she's definitely allergic to strawberries, whatever
Yeah.
peace of mind is. But you have to know what the peace of mind means for that prospect. And I think that's where a lot of teams will sometimes get lazy is the wrong word, but like a little bit lax on really digging
Sure.
in to understand truly what that means to that prospect. So I didn't mean to cut you off, but I
No, I'm
love
glad
that.
you did.
Mind is important, but it's whatever that is for that specific person.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a really important point, which is sometimes I think we lean too much in the data and checking boxes,
Mhm.
to make sure things are plugged up where when it's all said and done, we need to connect that going back to the human level.
Yes.
And I think being working, for a marketing agency, getting everything set up for leads, but ultimately we need to make sure it's setting the sales team up for success and make sure the call tracking's there so we can have all of this going in the right direction so the salesperson can make that connection and we can represent ourselves as humans because that's the most important part of the whole equation. Unless you have something else you'd like to say to that, but I think that's the biggest part of is setting up the salesperson so they can connect as a human. We
Mhm.
can have all the leads in the world, but if we're not going about that and getting everyone to go in the right direction and taking those next steps, it doesn't do anybody any good.
Yeah, I mean, when I first came to Grand, that was one of the things that I struggled with. Is a lot of the teams felt that if they did 50 phone calls in a day, they've been successful, but there was really no accountability into the quality of the interaction. So for me, it's doing more with the prospects and your leads with maybe less leads, because
Yeah.
you can do so much more when you give the team permission to dig down deep and to get people to know them and be that human. But it's really hard to be human in the sales process, because you have those competing priorities in your ego of, I've got to get the move in, I've got a call with a
Yeah.
regional in an hour, and God forbid I don't have another move and I'm going to get in trouble, right? But being able to shut down all of that and to be fully present with that person, to listen, to understand. Probably everyone knows the Stephen Covey quote that people listen with the intent to reply, not with the intent to understand.
Yeah.
Listen to understand. And if you find yourself jumping in or cutting somebody off or starting to give solutions too fast, that's your check for yourself to say, no, I need to listen more. I need to ask more questions so that you can really understand the person. But it all comes down to, I think, to your point, being human, and being human on our marketing side through our marketing efforts, but also being really human in person with our relationships.
Yeah, for sure. And it's that I think the present part is so key. And it's like you said, it's hard in sales because we are being measured on what we're pushing forward, right? And it's hard to, I think a good salesperson will be the first one that says it's probably not a good fit. And that's really hard because everything around you is saying, keep going, get those move ins. And so I think that's the challenge. But then we think about that on the marketing side, make sure we're aligning the data and the best practices to get the right leads and to make
Correct.
sure we're setting everyone up for success. Question for you. So you mentioned you've been at Grand Living for 7 months, right?
Mhm.
Okay. How hard was it to give like some patience to before you start really jumping into things? Because I'm sure initially it was like, well, let's work on this, let's change this, let's update that. But I'm sure you had to kind of take stock of what's really working and what's not before taking those before you took those next steps.
Yeah. So I learned the hard way when I first started in the industry, and when I first became a regional. I was one of those people that like to go in and blow everything up really fast and not listen. So I've learned that that does not work. So I had personal experience, but for me, it's really about listening and getting in the field and seeing the challenges that our teams are facing and understanding how they're working. I was very lucky that our president allowed me to bring prospect centered selling, the sales methodology, to Grand Living. So within the first 2 months of me starting, we recalibrated our sales experience and our sales methodology around prospect centered selling, which is a complete mind shift from that volume and velocity style that they had before I came to the organization. So it's been a journey, and there have been wonderful successes, but their bad habits do sometimes like to creep back in. But
Sure.
you have to remember, I think when change is really hard for everybody, you have to remember to celebrate the little wins of change. I think so often you're quick to find people that are not doing the change. So you're criticizing or coaching them, or you're focusing on the really big wins, like the number of move-ins. But instead, focus on the little wins where the real work is happening and change is happening.
Yeah,
I think
love
that's the best advice that I have for people that are facing changes. Remember how hard it is, and really acknowledge and celebrate the heck out of people that are making incremental change, because that will then continue to spiral and only get better and better and better over time.
For sure. That really impacts culture. And that's not only at an organizational level, but residents feel that, the families feel that's across the board. So I appreciate you saying celebrate this, every win across the board, because it does build momentum. You're mentioning about the sales. Did I see it right that you're going to be speaking at the One-on-One Sales Academy
I am.
event? Awesome. Now I got to ask, what's your presentation on?
It's about ghosting and what do you do when you get ghosted.
That's a teaser right there.
Discussion. So I'm quite excited about it. I had a prep call for it yesterday. So we're going to do some fun stuff. We're going to really try to be interactive with the audience and have them kind of share their stories, and have us as panelists give advice on maybe what we would have done in those situations. But it's going to be really interactive and a lot of fun.
That's going to be, and now that's going to be in November. Is that right?
Beginning
December.
December.
Okay. So this unfortunately will air after that event, but if you want to learn more, reach out to Eric or reach out to Reed, Reed Davis. Yes. To chat with him and to learn more about that event. I know it's going to be incredible. You're a great speaker. Just Eric, thank you for what you bring to every conversation. Every conversation I have with you is very impactful, and I appreciate you sharing with us today. Where can people find you if they want to learn more about what you're working on, and if they have any other questions for you?
Yeah, find me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. I have a presence there. I'd be happy to reach back out to you if you send me an email or direct message, if whatever you call it, on LinkedIn. And I'll be happy to chat with you. I love to help the industry, so feel free to reach out.
For sure. And no true words have ever been spoken when you said, I love to help the industry. And that's very true. So, Eric, thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you at the next event.
Sounds great. Thank you.
As we wrap up today's conversation, one thing is clear. Winning in 2026 isn't about doing more. It's about doing the right things better. That means understanding how families are finding us in a world shaped by AI and conversational search. It means differentiating through transparency and experience, not just amenities. And it means aligning marketing and sales around fewer and more effective conversations that build genuine trust. Eric, thank you for joining us and sharing your perspective on what shifted in 2025 and what leaders need to rethink as we head into the new year. Your insight and honesty made this conversation incredibly valuable. And to everyone listening, as you plan for 2026, I hope this episode challenges you to slow down, stay human, and focus on what truly matters, helping families make confident, informed decisions. And until next time, let's go create some meaningful connections.